Tuko hapa Holy Trinity Church na tumeweza kupatana na jamaa mmoja maridadi mzuri sana, jamaa ambaye aliweza kutuandalia masi ya leo, na sijui kwa jina, anaweza jitambulisha kwa jina.
Yes.
Let's give a hand of clap for Father Murad.
My name is Elizabeth.
My name is David Kimutai.
My name is Brian Shoka.
Margaret.
Christopher Mana.
I'm also Brian, but I'm Kenji Brian.
Mimi naitwa Francis Kariuki. Tuko hapa Holy Trinity Church na niko na pesa.
So I want to Kileleshwa's mommy. Kileleshwa, stand up.
Hi guys, this is the Holy Trinity Catholic Church. And today we are very excited because we're having an exchange program with the people from Kahawa. And
Tukiwa hapa Holy Trinity Church, content new.
Mental health.
And I heard that we had a very good discussion. What was the discussion about today?
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
Okay, so
Mental health. What about mental health?
First question, that is group 1. First question is, what is mental health?
So mental health encompasses emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It influences cognition, career, perception, and behavior. Or it can also determine how an individual handles stress, interpersonal relationships, and decision-making. So it's a very broad topic, which covers a lot of, it's very broad. But I think this definition captures it all.
And also, we wanted to point out that mental health is not just a topic that's common and popular today. We also see some characters in the Bible that struggled mentally. So in 1 Kings, we see Elijah, who was a great man of God, a prophet. Here it says in verse 4, Elijah walked a whole day into the wilderness. He stopped and sat down in the shade of a tree and wished he would die. Basically, he wanted to give up. He said to God, "It's too much, Lord," he prayed. "Take away my life, I might as well be dead."
The second one, factors that contribute to mental health. Most of them are caused by yourself. If you sleep late at night, maybe watching movies, if you overeat, don't plan yourself well, you will be able to affect your mental health as an individual. Also, they are caused by others. If you have manipulative friends, peer pressure, it also affects your mental health, in that you cannot make decisions as an individual. Also, your self-esteem and self-worth. If you are somebody who is moody, you look down upon yourself, you don't have low self-esteem, affects also your mental health. Physical exercises, yes, like going to the gym, aerobics, yoga, swimming, athletics, they do affect your mental health, but positively. Well, nutrition, the food that we eat. Do you eat a balanced diet, structured foods, or do you eat the food that you love all the time? Also, that has got a big part in affecting your mental health. Hobbies, doing something that you love, artists, drawing, playing guitar, piano, dancing, singing, like the choir, doing something that you love contributes positively to your mental health. Also, our spirituality, our relationship with Jesus Christ himself. Like the story of Moses in Numbers 11, 10 to 15, the story of 1 Kings, I think you can highlight it. The story of 1 Kings will be highlighted by my colleague. Also, our parents and guardians. All of us, we come from a family. If our parents did not show us the necessary love, even if they provided the food, the money, the well-being, without their love, will still affect our mental health. Social interactions like here, youth groups, church groups, also the more you interact with others, it boosts your confidence in terms of interacting with other people, and that positively affects your mental health. Finally, environment. Like here you can find the environment is good, the place is clean. So if you cannot compare somebody who's living here and somebody who's living in Kibera. So these are two different environments. So the person growing in Kibera will not have the same kind of upbringing and well-being as the person living in Kileleshwa. So also the environment that we are in, starting from our homes, our neighborhood, our society, like most of us in Kahawa, it contributes to our mental health. So a good environment contributes positively to our mental health. So I hand over to my colleague. Question 3.
Question 3 was basically the difference between mental health and mental illness. So mental health refers to anyone's state of mental and emotional well-being, and then mental illness is a diagnosed conditions that affect your thought and behaviors. So as being the last team, we wanted to leave you guys with a few reminders, because something that everyone here has mentioned are the causes, the factors, like, I don't know, your parents, things. And some of those things, we didn't choose them. You were born into that family, or you were sent into that school, or something happened to you as a child that was beyond your control. But then, if we're here, we all believe in God, I'm assuming, and we can entrust our feelings unto Him, and He will help us. So, as I read earlier the story of Elijah, after he told God that he wanted to die, God sent an angel to him. So here he said, "Take away my life, I might as well be dead." He lay down under the tree and fell asleep. Suddenly an angel touched him and said, "Wake up and eat." So here God just knew that maybe he was exaggerating, wanting to die, he was just hungry. So the angel just told him, "Wake up and eat." This is to say that when Jesus says, "Cast your burdens unto me," because He cares for you, sometimes you don't even know your own needs, but He knows what you need. So the encouragement is you're not alone, but then also you have to go to God and entrust your feelings unto Him because He cares for you. Here Elijah was vulnerable with God and He told him, "Take away my life, this is too much," because God had given him an assignment to go and help, I think, the Israelites, but they were not listening to him. They weren't doing what he was saying and they wanted to kill him. He was getting frustrated with his assignment. Yet, in his vulnerability, he didn't go to try and sound perfect before God. He went and was honest. He said, "This is too much, I want to die." So this is to encourage you that you're not alone, and God promised so many times in the Bible that He'll never leave you nor forsake you, but you have to go to Him first. The second point is that, as he said, there are some factors that are external, like things that happen to you, but some factors you cause them yourself. So sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's not your fault, but regardless, we serve a God that is merciful. For example, when David slept with Bathsheba, which he wasn't supposed to do, God punished him, but he felt really guilty and bad about himself. And you can read the Psalms where he's crying and mourning over what he did. He still went to God, even in his guilt. He didn't go away to drugs, he didn't go away to do something else. He went first to God and explained that this is how I feel, forgive me for what I've done, and he repented. Repentance is like turning away from what you did so you don't go back to it again. But even when you find yourself going back to it, whatever it is, whether it's anxiety, some people it might be addictions to pornography or something, eating, whenever you find yourself going back to it, God says in Corinthians that His grace is sufficient for you. And it doesn't mean that His love for you reduces because you go back to your sin. That's why He sent Jesus. So His grace is always sufficient for you. Then the third reminder is that God sees you and is with you. So in Mark 5, the story of that lady who had a bleeding issue for 12 years. So imagine for 12 years she's struggling with this blood issue. She's gone for many doctors. So some of you here, maybe for years, you've been struggling with anxiety, fear, confidence, addictions. She struggled with it for so long. Then she heard about Jesus. And with her faith, she just said, if I may just touch his garment, maybe I will be healed. Or not maybe, I will be healed. Immediately she touched Jesus' garment, she was healed of the issue of blood. But then it didn't just stop there. Jesus is like, in this case, he's God. He could have just continued walking in the crowd. But then he felt some power leave him and he asked, who touched my garment? This is to show that he didn't just want to heal this person and leave, but he wants to get to know her as a person, her fears, her strength, and not just make her heal from the issue of blood, but make her better as a whole human being. And I think he wants the same thing for you. So again, go to him, just like the lady with the issue of blood went to him. And lastly is God's word speaks to you. I think it was 2 weeks ago, the gospel was about my sheep hear my voice and I know them by name. So here's just a challenge to you, because this topic is related to social media. When God says, my sheep hear my voice, you have to know, you have to be so familiar with God's voice that when he speaks, you know it's him. So if you're not listening to God's voice, it means you're listening to something else, either social media, your friends, or other voices that are not necessarily influencing you positively. So put yourself in a position where you can hear God's voice. In the youth groups, reading your Bible, putting yourself in that place where you're familiar with God's voice. And with social media, being careful and very picky with the type of content that you consume, because it does affect your mental health and your subconscious, and even might change how you see God and believe in him. So you can't, okay, some people say that on social media you see, I don't know, naked pictures and everything, but the algorithm only shows you the things that you already like. So be intentional in what you're consuming on social media. It could be God-related content, or even when you're consuming other type of content, make sure that it's things that make you happy and that improve your mental health, and not the opposite.
Understanding mental illness and the question of how common it is in our world today. Second question, causes of mental illness in youth. And the last one for your group is how social media plays a key role in our mental health. Noted? Group 2. Okay, the first one, understanding mental illness and the questions of how common it is in our world today.
Okay, we are discussing understanding mental illness, and the question, our main question was how common it is in the world today, mental illness. And we did our research and we found out that currently there are about, in every adult in the United States of America, that was the information we managed to get. We got in USA, not in Kenya, but we saw that every 1 out of 5 adults suffers from mental illness, and there are different kinds of mental illnesses, and basically they are a state of not being well mentally, or an altered state of mental well-being. And we saw that being ill is the body not functioning normally, and the causes of this can be either internal or external. Some of the causes of the internal things can be stress. We've heard from group 4, they say that school stresses people, waking up early to go to work stresses people. And we know most of us in this age group, we go through that. Juu ya shule, kazi, unaamka mapema sana, hauwezi ambia mtu hauwezi amka mapema juu lazima uhustle. And external factors such as family, as we had. Some families unapata that the father is not the head of the family, so unapata there's that disjoint. Maybe, like she said, girls unapenda kuongea na their fathers, unapata the dad is not there. Boys unapenda kuongea na the mothers, unapata the mother is not there for the boy, so unapata someone doesn't have anyone to talk to, which brings easy mental illnesses and issues because of utakuwa na stress and don't have anyone to open up to. Then there's also toxic masculinity na toxic femininity. Unapata kama us guys kwa age group, unakaa na shida zako na unasema unakufa ngumu, can't open up to anyone. Yeah, and unapata ina stress kabisa, and you end up suffering from these mental illnesses. And we've grown to adapt to situations that zinafanya mental health to deteriorate, and you don't want to open up and decide, this is me, this is how I live, I won't share with anyone, and it doesn't help you in any way. In some cases, some of the external examples, it is due to trauma. Maybe, for example, people who were victims of the 2007 post-election violence. The person, maybe I was a child then, and then I suffered from this trauma during the post-election violence. It grows inside me. Now I end up passing it to my next generation. Now my kids, my kids pia me now persecute or something of the sort. I'm not there for them. Yes, niko hapo, but siko there for them. I won't listen to their problems. I'll just let them be, because sababu mimi na feel what happened to me, I didn't have anyone to talk to. So now you pass it on to the next generation. And we all know that we have different limits. Maybe something that inaweza nifanyikia, mimi inaweza kosa kufanyikia. For example, maybe unaweza pata mimi nikiibiwa simu, hainistui, lakini wewe ukiibiwa simu inafanya kuwa depressed. Yeah. Tukona different limits here, what? Yeah. And there's two broad categories of mental illness. I want you to go and look them up at home. And there's just any mental illness which unaweza pata the signs and symptoms ziko mild, haziko severe sana. Then there's serious mental illness. Unapata now the signs and symptoms are very severe, vitu kama withdrawal, vitu kama hizo, unapata they are now very severe. You'll go and look that up. Yeah. And if you say, we have lots of information on the internet, so unaweza enda Google uone the signs and symptoms. Yeah, signs and symptoms, uone kama maybe unaweza qualify kuenda kuona daktari akudiagnose vizuri, self-diagnose. Yeah.
Causes of mental illness in youth.
The trauma, the generation trauma. Toxic masculinity, semitaja. You guys are listening? Yes. Now I'm sure.
Genetics,
yeah, the genetics thing. You guys know them. See, right? Or you have questions about them, the causes. Yeah, so abizitaja zote, and plus Tifa pia saying about the causes, it will be like just repeating everything that we've said. Maybe the most important thing is kuwa tukishasema causes na juziko, tunasema pia how to tackle them. Like what should we do to make sure that we get rid of these things? Sindo? Yeah, thank you.
And how social media plays a key role in our mental health. Tuko sawa?
We all know about social media, especially Instagram. Me, I'll be there, nitapost kile nataka muone. But sitaki muone kama mimi nikikula githeri sitapost. Nikikula hicho tumekula hapa saa hii na post. Hata nina post. But people wanaishingi, let's say, maisha yenye si yao. They'll pretend on social media. Yeah, and we all know how that affects us. Inakufanya maybe you feel, maybe I want to live like this and this person. I'm not, why mbona mimi siishi kama yeye, vitu kama hizo. And yeah, that's one of the impact of social media on our mental health. But there's a good side social media, because unaweza pata there are guys who talk about mental health there and wanaweza kusaidia. So don't always scroll to Instagram ukiscroll ukiangalia huyu anaishi aje.
Does the family in all its levels have an impact on mental health or ill health extension of that question is how, and give at least 5 reasons.
Jesus. Up up Jesus again. We group 4. I'm Latifa. Presenting the first question, and it goes this way. Does the family in all its levels have an impact on mental health? And give 5 reasons, elaborating them. And I think, according to our group and our own opinion, we discussed this, and we would say the first thing was kind of the lack of attention, where attention goes into kind of 3 major things. The first, the availability. And here we say about availability, it's the availability of parents to the youth. And this, where we say the availability is where time is a factor where when you have no connection between your parents, maybe they're working abroad, or for instance, they're working maybe during night schedules and something, it gives you the lack of attention where between the youth interacting in the family, where a father and maybe a son could talk and have a tete-a-tete between the two, it becomes an issue, and maybe you have an issue disturbing you and you'd like to maybe tell your dad, maybe for instance, the youth, Dad, I found maybe a girlfriend somewhere. What are the actions maybe? The people who talk to their parents, actually they do. So the availability, no matter unapata, like when you want to have the connection between you and your parents, you think of it, maybe you try it. Dad, should I try this? No, it affects you in some way. Mentally, you're not able to maybe deal without your issue with other youths, maybe in the church, not only in the church, maybe if you're schooling, still in your schooling, it gives you that gap between our, when we say attention. And the other thing I would say is the ignorance by parents. For a fact, their parents were ignorant. And by ignorance, I say, Dad, have this and this conversation I want to have with you. He tells you, I'm going to jump early in the morning. You need to tell him something so crucial. Maybe you faced it in school. For instance, maybe you are a boarding student, and when you're in school, when you were learning, there was something you faced and ulishindwa kuiongelea wewe mwenyewe, ukaona the next person you would speak to, maybe it's a person who is maybe older than you, and who you think next, it's your dad, but your dad is not there. The ignorance by parents inaleta uhusiano baina yao na kuwa ngumu kweli, and like and like anakuignore. I'm gonna mwambia dad, we have in this thing. Maybe for instance, we know where I'm using dad, like wasichana tunapenda kuwa kuhusiana na our dad, so our dad's daughters, and for guys maybe it's their moms, that's why I'm using dad. And like your ignorance by wazazi, it brings that you want to kind of tell them something, and about ignorance, that's where the negligence comes into. You're not able to, the parents maybe have neglected you, wameshindwa kufanya what you're supposed to do. And the next thing I would say, still about attention, is interaction, the bond. Youth wana face challenges in and out here, outside, wanashindwa mtu wa kuongelesha, wanafikiri mtu wa kwanza ni nani? Mzazi wake hayuko karibu. Kwa hivyo uhusiano wao unakuwa nini? Mgumu. Hivyo akipata kitu, the next thing is it's my crew. My crew inaonyesha maybe drugs. And if not drugs, maybe something. And that's why we say usherati unaingililia. The other thing is the other thing is family loss. For instance, death. You say death is inevitable. It can't be said it's today, tomorrow, or any time maybe from now. But we say God forbid any time. So death. When it comes to death, when you lose a part, maybe you lose one of your parents, and like the next, maybe he was so close to you. That is the only person you had a connection to talk to. And like when he's not there, you don't have somebody to talk to. You find yourself kind of, what am I supposed to do? And like, you're there into deep thoughts, and that's where you find it, there's thing called 1 a.m., 2 a.m. hands, people are not asleep, thinking of this life something and mental issues arise. The next thing I would say is family disputes, where family disputes maybe is because of domestic violence or divorce and separation. And divorce and separation, for instance, maybe somebody was undergone so a youth and in the family, it becomes so hard to deal out with your parents. You have a stepdad, amekuja into your family. This person, if you've not known him for the rest of your life, amekuja into. That's why you find the blended marriage is coming into. Where, for instance, I, Latifa, I have a stepdad, for instance, but that's an example. Though, maybe I can't talk to him, you get the gap. Should I tell him this? Atanichukuliaje? And anyway, he's not my dad. You have that thing, the ego thing, you become, nimwongeleshe. Yes, amekuja kwa familia yetu juzi. Does he know me? Hata nikimwambia atanisaidia? Hatanisaidia. So that's why you get now, you wanashindwa how to maybe mentally think of something and where. That's where mental health comes into. Another thing, we have lots and lots of points about to explain them today zingekuwa mingi, but I think I'm going to just cut them short. Kuna kitu kama like something like financial changes. Financial changes is where like mlikuwa like you had money earlier before, and something happens by default mnapata like the standard that you were living, you're not again there to back to the standards you were not. So it becomes hard. Mzazi now, the next thing anashughulika is her herself, or maybe what is affecting her. We were living somewhere posh. We're not living there. We're living now maybe in the suburbs. How am I going to cope? You've come to a new changes, maybe an area, maybe a certain location, it's so hard for you. And the financial changes maybe how rich may be or how poor you are. And how rich is where might change the standards of living. You are kind of so used to living in the suburbs and now you're somewhere. And you have no people, it's change of location. You don't know people here, you only hear stories, some you've read, some you've heard from people, and like it becomes kind of so hard for you. Now in the family, the dad is now maybe, or the mom is kind of so faced with trying to bring up bread on the table, so it becomes so hard now. Or either you're living in a Pujé life and now you go to the suburbs. It's so hard, the interaction, youth wanashindikana kwa familia. Kitu kingine nilisema, it's acknowledgement of one's feeling. And here acknowledgement of one's feeling is where we say there are generational differences. Maybe one or two people here have heard that their parents anamwambia, sisi wakati wetu hatukuwa tunafanya hivi, siku hizi mmekuwa watundu, mbona hamsikii? It was their time. And now the parents are so having that ideology. Unamwambia mami nafaa kuwa hivi, anakuambia sisi wakati wetu haikukuwa hivi. Ama ukitry kumwelezea mom, shule, for instance now, it's so obvious LGBTQ is happening everywhere, maybe you've heard of it. Or maybe it has even experience, umepata shule, maybe you come tell mom, there's this and this thing happening in school, and this is what has been affecting me. Mzazi anakuambia wakati wetu hakukuwa hivi, hii wakati wetu ni mkoa watundu mpaka hatusikizi. Ama anakuambia sisi tulikuwa tunachapwa kichapo kwa chambwa. Anafanya nini wewe mwenyewe? Anakupiga hivyo hivyo. The trauma that you have when you were so young, it's passed out to ukiwa mkubwa. And you find it that when you are growing, it's so hard for you to kind of have to live it. Inafaa kuwa hivi. Mzazi amekuwa na hiyo generational difference so very fast in affect. Ama mmegombezana na mzazi nyumbani, mkagombezana akakwambia wewe sijui ufanani na mwenzako, your neighbor is such and this, or maybe it's called the siblings rivalry. Your brother is so hardworking, you're not hardworking, you're lazy born. Mbona usisome kama like your brother, maybe is an elder one. Ama mbona you're not supposed to be, you're not doing things according to what your brother has been doing. That the siblings rivalry comes into. Alafu sasa unajipata hata simsikizia na niambia vitu za kitambo, mimi we are the millennials, utamsikiza, you're not going to listen to her. So the next thing you have to is go to my crew or either join into something else. Ama unashinda wewe mwenyewe, what am I going to do? Mzazi anisikizi, unajipata maybe you maybe you're a drug addict. Ama anashindanga akikwambia, wewe nataka usome, nataka usome, usome. Utafikira nini? Maybe labda kwenda kulewa ama kufanya kitu kingine. Lakini if you the last generational differences, it comes into kunakuwa na siblings rivalry, and for a fact a family on its level has an impact on mental health. And the last thing I would say is lack of leadership control. The Bible says the father is the head of the family, and when the father is the head, the mother is the neck. And that's how it goes to the body. That's the body parts of us youth, how we are. And if you find the father not being in the head and controlling you guys, you find it so, your lack of leadership. Kwa familia, it becomes an issue where when you're trying to perceive maybe something and trying to convey something in the house, haina mtiririko. You get the mtiririko unafaa kuwa, dad anapoint kitu. Dad anasema this, mom says this and this, and then you follow it. And then, I'm on a sugar, your dad is not around, your mom is around. But when your dad is around, just so straight. Life is straight for them. The parents talks to them, they listen. When the parent wants to give something to you, they give it to you, and it's a follow thing. It's a follow thing between the parent and you. And I think that was the first question. I'm going to give my next presenter for the next question. Also, he says that you should read for him. The next question is, does the society have an impact on mental health? How, and give at least 5 reasons. Techno is going to explain for you guys.
You'll have to allow me to be fluent in whichever language I use. Lazima tuelewe. So she has read the question. I have the answers. Yeah, stop laughing. That's true. So about the society thing, according to me or to the team I was, Group 4, leadership is everywhere, in everything we do, in whatever we go through in our lives. So whether it's in the house or outside, leadership is needed everywhere. So lack of leadership, whether in words, in actions, in any way, it might influence you in a negative or a positive way. Yeah. The second one. Ya pili sasa. Kuna backstabbing. Si mnajua, mtaikosagi kusengenyana. Your neighbors will see what you are doing in the morning, in the night. Sasa zile huko home, wataanza kuongea na maneighbor. Uliona cheki? Wewe kijana. Siku hizi imekuwa mbaya sana. So hiyo backstabbing, the more wanaongeanga, watu wanasahau, watakusengenya na ikuje kufikia. So like, kama wewe ni a faint-hearted person, it might affect you in the wrong way. So like, that might lead to mental illness. Ya tatu ni discrimination. Discrimination in the sense of kuna like in everywhere we live, kuna ule mse unapataga tu, unfortunately he or she is not well off kama hao wengine. So mtaa inaonanga wewe anakuwa na shida, wewe hatuwezi kusaidia. So like that behavior will kind of affect you negatively in many cases. Unajua utaachiliwa na area yote. So like hata ukiwa na shida, no one seems to care. Unakuwa hivyo, unakuwa na mashida, unipaki yao, unakufiango, yani wanajua tu unakuwa hivyo. They never seem to help, they never really seem to care. Yeah, so that's how it is. There's also the environment we live in. It's regardless of umetoka place ya kibabi, umetoka mtaa, umetoka tu anywhere, umetoka place ya kibabi, kila mtu anajuanga uko sawa, huyu ako sawa, ule ako sawa. Hakuna mtu anaongeanga na mwingine. Yo unatoka unaenda job unarudi, huyu mwingine anatoka job anatoka Kahawa anaenda job anarudi. There is no communication, hakuna sisi mtongeleshana, maybe mpitane tu kwa geti kwa hi. Oh, that's all. So hakuna sasa zile mtakuwa na that communication enye at least utajua neighbor wako vile anakuwa. You know, sometimes we go through some things zenye sizi ongea na msee wa home. As in kuna sasa unajipata tu I feel I want to talk to a friend, talk to a neighbor. Easy kitu yenye mtambia msee wa home. Juu maybe na kitu wa home ina effect. You see? So that's another thing. I guess I'm done because of time. Group 3.
Thank you, Latifa, Techno, and Group 4 for that. It was widely researched.
Hi guys. Oh, really? Yeah, my name is Laban, aka Brian, aka Maina. Yeah. So, in our group, we discussed, but we didn't exhaust. So, our first question was, in your opinion, what is the main cause of mental health among youth in church? So, the first one we saw, it's trauma. It can be family trauma, friendship trauma, etc. So, the second point is social media. We all know how social media is affecting the mental health illness. I won't dig in because of time. The other one is peer groups. Yeah, the different peer groups can cause mental health illness. The other one is lifestyle pressure. Maybe you want to live a certain lifestyle, so you're pressured and so you get. So the other one is discrimination techno, ameongea kuhusu. The other one is unemployment. The other one is relationships. Hadi nyinyi mnajua wengi wetu hapa tuko kwa relationships, ndio? The other one is loneliness, so maybe hauna mtu wa kuongea, yani tu uko solo tu inaweza vipi. Ingine ni results, different results, inaweza kuwa ni exam results, inaweza kuwa hizo results zingine. Najua ni results gani. Ingine ni drugs.
No, but it's trying to look for ways on how to tackle mental health issues. So, question 3. Should provide, it should create awareness to the youth in church and the parents so that they can be aware of what is going on with the youth and the parents. So when the parents are aware, as Latif was saying, some parents don't know what youth are going through. They will just have to refer to what they went through, and of which that's a different generation. So also create peer groups like the ones we're having today. Have mental health sessions in church. Have self-initiative, encourage self-initiative with one another. Retreats and seminars at different places. Those retreats and seminars should include physical activities and also should include youth-centered activities, not like just having a retreat where it's just praying and having other people talking to you. Have interactive sessions in church and out of church. Also training of clergy to understand the youth more, so that when they have the homilies and any other session of the church, they should also consider the youth. And that's our presentation.
Topic ambazo mliweza kudiscuss hivi leo. Na hebu kwa ufupi tuambie ni topic zipi mliweza kudiscuss.
Okay, so today we talked about mental health. As youth, mental health is just one broad topic and an issue that affects all of us. So if we felt the need to come together, get intimate and dirty,
Bila shaka mtazamaji, imekuwa ni siku njema sana tukiwa hapa Holy Trinity. Tumeweza kuinteract na watu kutoka Holy Trinity Catholic Church, na bila shaka ni kuwarudisha shukrani watu wote ambao wameweza kuparticipate kwa hafla ya leo. Asante.